Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Building Empires Network. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Paul Miranda. Paul Miranda is one of the owners of Patriot Title, and he's going to share with us, of course, how he started his journey in real estate and give us some great tips about, title tips, what to look out, some of his losses that he wants to share with us so you guys don't make those same losses. So, yeah, thank you for coming in, Paul.
Thank you, Andrea. It's good to be out here with everybody, and then I want to give thanks to your team for inviting me here and be able to present to the investor world or anybody who's in real estate. It's been a journey, and if you're just starting, it's going to be a journey for you too. But we're bringing a lot of little different tips that I've learned and picked up throughout the time that I've been doing real estate, and I'll give a little bit about me. Uh, my background is in the apartment management. I did that for many years, but in 2003, I decided, hey, I'm making the owners rich. I want to do the same thing. And so I got my real estate license, thinking that's the way. Everybody starts there, right?
Right.
Oh, I'm gonna get my real
I
estate
need my
license.
license, yeah.
And that's in 2003. I got my real estate license and did very well actually until the market crash.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know, I didn't understand what those cycles were going, the different cycles that we've gone through in real estate or in the market overall in our economy. And I learned pretty quick,
Yeah.
and so, but it took me through another journey is like, what am I going to do? How can I adapt to this market? Where can I go different? And as I was looking around, I started looking at investing. I was like, well, the rich, they're not realtors. They're people that own buildings and properties and all kinds of stuff. So in 2013, I decided to take a leap of faith and we decided to look into wholesaling.
Yeah.
That's where I started. Most, people that I know that are investors started in wholesaling because it's no credit, no money, less risk.
I wish I
basically.
would have known that. I
Yeah.
started the opposite. I started flipping and then I went to wholesaling, but I wish I would have known, because I think
Yeah.
flipping was a little bit more popular than wholesaling.
Yeah, it was tough, but I learned a lot of things because when I started in 2013, I did it for about 8 months, and then I started straight into rehabbing. And the rehabbing was very, very good because with wholesaling, what happened is it taught me how to get the deals
Right.
cheap enough
Right.
where we were making great money on the flip. So it made
Yeah.
sense,
Mhm.
so we were just buying everything.
Yeah.
If we got it under contract, it was a deal and we were just going to buy it. And so we
Mhm.
just started buying everything. And, it was very, very lucrative time. Back then, I remember, direct mail was like the biggest thing. And,
Right.
we were spending maybe about $4,000 or $5,000 a month in direct marketing, but we were getting appointments and locking up deals, one or two deals a week or more sometimes.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good. But in 2019, I think that's when I met you actually. Uh, we went to Florida to join a group. I'm not going to call a lot of groups, but
Call the group. No, I'm kidding.
yeah, we want to build empires, right?
Right,
That's the thing.
right.
That's where it comes from. So I remember you guys going out there, and I was like talking to one of your previous business partners, and I was like, man, that's interesting. I really want to scale that, and I started looking at scaling my wholesale business and going back into that because the market was rehabbers and wholesalers was getting big, but nobody was virtual.
Yeah.
And so I think that was what taught us to be virtual to be able to scale our business. So I started doing that in 2019 and it was pretty good. I like the systems. I
Right.
think the systems is what really creates any business, and learning those systems is what builds the businesses. So I started doing that and came back to wholesaling. I cut back my rehabbing. I still do rehabs, but not as many. I might do two or three a month at the
Okay.
most. And that's the most because it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, no, they
Yeah.
do. That's one of the reasons I don't, like to
Yeah.
do like flips. I
Yeah.
like hotels because they're in and out, but yeah, that does take a lot of time. A lot.
Yep. Same here. So we started looking about hoteling, and we're actually purchasing a property right now where we got an excellent deal. You know, you're looking about a $280,000 ARV, but we're getting it for like 160.
Nice.
We're just gonna clean it up and get it.
Those are my favorite. I
Just put it
love it.
right
I
back in
do
the
a lot of
market.
those. I do a lot of hotels, and that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah. So those are the good deals that you can find when you start wholesaling, and then you
Mhm.
start being looking into wholesaling and wholesaling. I mean, and rehabbing. But you got to follow the market. The
Yeah.
market. We know that there's a shift coming, and it's only a matter of time. And some of the market that I see is that sales are going to slow down a little bit. Values might drop down a little bit. That's kind of normal from the last cycle that I learned in
Mhm.
2007, 2008, is that, prices drop or values on properties drop. Back then, I think I've seen the most I saw was like almost a 20%,
Drop.
drop on certain neighborhoods, not the whole city,
Not
but
everywhere.
in,
Mhm.
in some of the areas that I saw, because I was still doing retail, I was still doing all that, and I saw where the prices were dropping. People were like, it was a buyer's market, so if you were getting like back then $120,000 house, now they were offering like 110,
Yeah.
105, and
Mhm.
I told my clients he's either take it or he's gonna go lower. So
Yeah.
they had to make that step or cancel your sale.
Right.
So those were some of the things that we saw, and but all this has led me to something else. I don't know if it's me or or you get into this business. I'm a type of person that likes to be in control of my transactions.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Like I would.
So in this business, you learn that because you want to make sure it closes, you want to make sure it gets sold, you want
Mhm.
to make sure it gets marketed, you want because you learn the systems and you got to make sure the systems are flowing, or else it's not going to happen.
Right.
And so I decided to take another leap of faith, and I connected. I became a partner, one of partners with the Patriot Title. So I don't own Patriot Title. I own Patriot Title Energy Corridor branch. I'm a partner there with the current owner of Patriot Title. So I have that branch, and I decided to take that because I wanted to see what it was about doing transactions because of my history and the losses and the downfalls I had. Not to blame the title company, but more of what was missing, what happened to those
Mhm.
transactions, and what led me to decide to open title company. And but when it comes down to the bottom line, it is control.
Right.
I'm going to be straight honest with that. It is control. And I'm not saying go out there and open a title company, so you can be in control, but trust me, it's not easy neither, but because you're running a business and you have to hire the right team, you have to have the right people. It's just like any other business. And so I wanted to bring a little bit of the title tips that I've brought that I'm bringing and that I experienced in my wholesale business, in my rehabbing business, in my continued real estate business. Uh, and I learned a lot in title. And some of those tips is what I wanted to bring today in order for my fellow investors out there, anybody that's in real estate or you're deciding to get into it, to keep in mind uh, of what you're dealing with and what you're confronting with. And it's just going to be general tips because I think those little tips will help you along the way to see the bigger picture when there's bigger issues, and you know how to handle those and work in conjunction with the title company.
Mhm.
Uh, Title company is just like any other realtor. You want them to be a partner. You want to connect with a title company that's
Right.
investor friendly if you're in investments, or someone that gives you great customer service for your realtors and your buyers and sellers. That's very important. I was a realtor for many years, and I built my business on that customer service and
Yeah.
doing what I got to do to get the deal done, get the transaction done. And my family experienced that where I was working from 10 to 10. That was my office hours
Wow.
back then. Uh, I did a lot of things. I did mortgages too while I was at it, and I was also the insurance agent and
Man.
processed my own loans. So I know a lot about the ins and outs of
Jack
this
of
real
all
estate.
trades,
Yeah.
huh?
So that's what I did, and some of the tips I wanted to bring and that I wrote down. Unless you have some
Well,
other questions.
well, yeah, I was just gonna say before we get to the tips, I want you to tell them kind of like what you were telling me earlier on one of your, your transactions that happened to you, and what could you have done if to avoid that to happen.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll give a little story of several, uh, and the tips that I'm bringing is based on the experience of losses and
Mhm.
different things that I experienced along the way. And this was before I even got into title, and I learned now that I'm in title how to avoid some of those things, and that's why I'm bringing these tips. So I remember about, I would say about 4 years ago, I bought a transaction from a wholesaler, and we went to title company, and it was a well-known title company in the Heights, a good office. They've been there, I think the escrow officer had been there with that office for 20, 25 years roughly. And very nice lady, very professional. The office is very professional, never had an issue with them. I've closed many deals there prior to this one. But I bought the property, and it was a major rehab. You know, you're talking about 4 years ago, a $50,000 rehab is probably now, based on prices on materials and
So
things, probably like a
it's like 100, yeah,
$75,000 rehab, today's
today.
costs, you know. So it was a $50,000 rehab, and during the rehab, we completed the rehab, and once the rehab was completed, about a week, maybe I would say maybe in the middle of the week, so about 3 days before I put on the market, because I like to try to have everything done and just put on the market between Thursday and Friday, so it's ready for the
Nice.
weekend, you
Right.
know.
Yeah. I
And
do the same.
so, you know, so I made sure I stopped by because they had just installed the appliances the day prior, and when I got there, the doors locks were changed. There were signs all over the windows that this property had been foreclosed. I was like, wait a minute, I just bought this property, I just did the rehab, you know, it's in my name, I don't have these issues, and I don't know what's going on. So I call the 1-800 number on there, and when I call the 1-800 number on there, they told me, yeah, we foreclosed on this property for a loan that there was on there. I said, wait a minute, there was no loan. It's the only loan that's on there is my private lender loan, you know. So I called the title company, and they looked into it, and they found out that the plant did not catch a mortgage, and it was a
Wow.
mortgage from the previous owner. And the problem was that the previous owner that was living on the property had passed, so the brother inherited the property, and the brother started making the payments. And then the wholesaler contacted him, got it under contract. It was an excellent deal. The guy got it, I think the wholesaler got it for like 45, and I bought it for 55, ARV of like 160, 170. So, you know, with a $50,000 rehab, I mean,
Yeah.
I think my loan was 110 or something like that. You know, still good in the parameters. 70% of the ARV back then, you know, and
Right.
so
Right.
I'm doing this deal, and I run into this situation, and they had missed this
Man,
mortgage.
that's bad.
So we file a claim, and you know, I'm trying to take care of. I
Tell
always say take care of your private lender. So
tell him how much the mortgage was.
it was not a big. It's a 12% interest rate,
Sheesh.
short-term loan, right? 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And at 12%, the loan it was 110, so it was $1,100 a month. And so I already had it for. I had just made my third payment for, because we were rehabbing. Took about 2 months, 2.5 months. Had to pull a couple of permits and stuff, so that's why I delayed it a little bit. But I already had made 3 payments, and then it took approximately 10 months to finally go to court or settle, in other words, and because their mortgage was $70,000 and my
Wow.
loan was 110, it just made sense for them to pay that other mortgage off. So the title company took a hit, not the actual title company, but the
The insurance.
underwriter. The title insurance took us, you know, $77,000 hit, I believe, closer to that number, and I got the property back, but it took 10 months, and so
Wow.
you're paying $1,100 a month for 10 months. That starts chewing your,
It's like what you did it for 10 months
plus the three
plus three
months,
months,
so it's
so
like 13
probably like
months.
13,000, 14,000 there that you
Yeah,
were just
out, you know, close to
out.
fifteen thousand
Man.
dollars plus holding costs, utilities,
Yeah,
you
utilities
know,
and
landscaping, everything that requires, you know, to maintain the property. And so, yeah, but I would say about $15,000. And, you know, those are all the hidden fees you see. But you don't, not only that, when you improve a property, guess what? The tax authority sees that you improve the property. So now your taxes are even higher.
and then you gotta pay taxes for the whole time you had it.
Exactly. And not only that, they're higher. You
Yeah.
know, they're much higher. You know, I experienced that on another rehab where, in the Heights, it took about that long trying to sell it, and the taxes one year was $4,000 or $5,000, but now that I made these major improvements, the taxes were like almost $12,000. So now you're like a big tax bill. That all that starts affecting your
Mhm.
finances and all. So
Yeah.
one of the tips that I ask or I bring to you about this situation is that ask your title company before you go to closing. Have you done a BTD, which is short for bring to date? Have you updated the title commitment? Have you made sure that it's currently when you're buying a home, the lenders, they'll do a credit check on you like a day before you close. They'll
Right.
call your job, make sure you still have a job.
Right.
They'll do all kinds of stuff to make sure that their loan that they're going to give you, uh, that you can afford or can make the payment. Well, as an investor, you want to make sure that title is clear.
Hmm.
Why not just have a simple question? Have you,
Done
is
a
your title
BTD.
commitment up to date?
I've never ever asked for that ever.
Yeah.
And it's good to know because I'm always like, hey, here it is. I never ask them if it's up to date. I'm hoping that they'll give it to me up to
Yeah.
date, but I mean, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
As a wholesaler, let's say there was a couple of issues on there. If you open title this month or this week or today, let's say you get title commitment back in 2-3 days, and there's a couple of issues there. Like I have one affidavit of heirship. It can be done in a week, or it could be a couple of weeks, or it could be even a month.
Yeah.
Anything can happen between now and the time you close.
Right.
So by the time you close, um, somebody could put a lien on it.
I'm actually going through that right now. And I was telling you about that. Like
Yeah.
they put I was gonna close on this house actually this today. Today was the day of my closing, and this guy put a lien on the house to the previous owner, but he just recorded the lien. So now, I mean, it wasn't that I didn't get the title clear, but he recorded the lien because of the previous owner, and now like we're trying to figure it out, but it's a $17,000 lien, and you're like, oh man, like so things happen all the time. I have to wait and see what happens, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, because like you said, a lot of things can happen from here till
Yeah, from the time you contract to the time you close. And so that's one of the tips that I bring, is a BTD, bring to date. And
BTD,
yeah,
bring to date.
we do that in our office. When we're going to close a file, the escrow agent and the assistant, they're always communicating, hey, have you did a BTD on the property or the title commitment, or and to make sure that, so when we go to closing, or you as the investor or realtor, make sure that it's brought to date. And so as an investor, that's one of my tips to you, is ask, hey, have you updated the title commitment? Have you brought it to date or BTD? And in our company, that's well known and throughout our all the branches. So I know that you use one of the branches. So
I
you
do.
know when you bring it up, she's gonna be like, whoa,
What?
what?
Well, I'm sure I've
Yeah.
never had any issues, but
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it makes sense. Now I have a question now. When you say for example, you have a transaction in title because you're going through affidavit, if it's already been like a month or two, now do you recommend to tell them, hey, can you bring that up to date again, or
Yeah, I would. If the day you're gonna close, I will probably, like 1 or 2 days prior to that, just say, "Hey, can you make sure that I'm not trying to step over your feet, but I just want to make sure that the title commitment has been brought to date." And just ask. You can be polite about it. You can send them an email. Anything you ask for, I recommend an email. That's another tip, but we'll go over that in a little bit. And send them an email. Hey, can you make sure? I want to make sure we're gonna close in 2 days, one day, 3 days from now. Can you confirm that you guys did a BTD on the title? That's it. Simple as that. And then because title people are humans too. We make
right,
mistakes, we forget things and all that. I've seen it happen. Sometimes even my own office, I've seen it. I'm not bashing my office, but this is one of the things that we always try to stay on top. It's kind of a standard thing.
right,
But I think once we missed it, but we still did it. Of the day
right.
of closing. And so just to make sure, you sign, and then something pops up. Hey, you know what? Let's put a hold on it because something popped up. But always try to make sure that you do that BTD.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of the tips that I bring you on that. Uh, at the same time, how many wholesalers have put uh, a property under contract and you talk to somebody and you put the name of that person on the contract and then you take it to title and then you open title, you get the title commitment back. Some title companies, and I've experienced this, where they say they're investor friendly, but they just give you the title and they're expecting you to understand and know what it says on there. But I've opened the title once where I got the title commitment, and because I knew what to look for, uh, on the first page, it tells you that I'm on there. I'm getting a property. How much
Right.
is the contract price or the title insurance that we're getting for that? But right there at the bottom is going to say who is it vested in. Basically, whose name is the title in. That's what the vesting means. So you always look for that, because I've had issues where, oh, well, I inherit the property from my mother,
Right.
and my mother's name is, Jane Doe, and you have that person's name on there. Well, do you have paperwork? Well, I figure that, since I'm the only son, I inherit the property,
Right.
and that's not how you do things. So always look for that, because then now you might have to do an amendment to your contract and put the right person on there. So in that case, we had to do the estate of Jane Doe, for example, and then signed by the son. And then now we have to do affidavits of heirship. So one of those things is who's invested in, who's invested in. Sometimes it's a husband and wife, or
Right.
sometimes we had a case where there was four people
Right.
that was vested in, and we only did a contract with one. Well, there's three other people on there, and there's steps to getting that corrected. Unless they're all going to sign, you either have to amend the contract, or you either have to do different things to clear that of one person signing it, just like on our LLC docs. If
Right.
you have multiple partners or managing members, you have to establish who's going to sign. Same thing with the vesting. If you have four, persons on the vesting, sometimes it's good to assign it to one person, or sometimes it's not good among the family members where they all want to sign, they all want their piece, they all want their share, and that's how you have to do it. So that's one of the things is the vesting. And then the other thing is the Schedule C. That's where all your liens or mortgages and everything is at. By looking at that, I'm not saying that you're going to clear those issues, but what I'm saying is look for that, because when you're assigning a property, you're going to understand how long does it take approximately to get an affidavit of heirship. How long is it going to take to get city liens on there? How long is it going to take to get an IRS lien on there? How long is it going to take to get a tax lien, and so numerous other things, mechanics liens,
Right.
finding those things? How long is it going to take to resolve that? Because as when I was rehabbing, I'll give you a little story on this. I contracted a property with a wholesaler, and this wholesaler was a new wholesaler, but she was being mentored by someone with experience. And but they had just opened title, and they had just assigned it to us, and we put a $5,000 earnest money, non-refundable. And of course, it says there that if title isn't clear and all that, but it was an opportunity we couldn't skip. We got the property for approximately $57,000, and it was worth like 180. And so, and our rehab cost was probably about 35 to $40,000. So I mean, it's a real good deal.
Right.
We're in it for a total of like under $100,000, and you're selling for 180.
Yeah.
And so that's a good $80,000 gross profit. So we didn't want to let go of it, so we stayed on it. But what happens is there was some issues on the title that if we would have saw that before, uh, we probably would have waited, or maybe not, because it was a good deal. But we basically waited. We contracted in August, and we didn't close until the end of February.
Oh,
That's
wow.
$5,000 sitting there. I don't know how many rehabbers would want to put 5,000 here, 5,000 there. When you're buying multiple properties, that's earnest money all over the place. So
So, like, for example, if there's issues with title, right, and you guys can get it resolved, did you have the option to get your money out, or did you just say, "Hey, I'm going to leave it there because I really want this property"?
we had the option, but we did keep it there because we saw the $80,000 potential profit
Yeah.
there, and so that was the reason we kept it. But we did have the option, and it was in a good location in Pasadena, just outside of Beltway 8, is in newer neighborhoods and all that. So it was a nice property. But the idea is that you, as a wholesaler, those that are starting, learn how to read the title commitment.
Yeah.
If you want help with that, you can come see me. Like Andrea said, I am wholesaling, I am rehabbing, I am hoteling, I am a realtor. I still do. I'm active in all those realms of real estate and those categories,
Mhm.
and so I know what we need to get done, get the deal done for you, because
Yeah.
I experienced the same thing. So learn that if you have any questions, we can come to my office. We can talk, set up an appointment with my escrow agent if you have more issues that even I might not have an answer to. But we're here to help. And so that was another thing, is learn how to read the title commitment.
That's very important, on how to read the title. That's one of the first things we always look at and kind of analyze. My transaction coordinator and I, we're really more on her, but she knows better on how to read it. But that's very important, very, very important. Because sometimes, like I know, some wholesalers are a little newer. They're like, hey, when we just want to get it closed, we don't really, they overlook certain things. And, that's one of the, first things to kind of.
Well, as a wholesaler, we want to sell fast, close fast. That's the name of the business for wholesaling. 2 week transaction, 1 week to get into contract, open title, get it clear, to get everything going, and possibly close. We strive at our office to try to have those wholesale deals ready to close in 5 to 7 days tops, so that you can go ahead and market that property and be able to get an end buyer for that, because we want to help you close those deals. I know I want to close on my wholesale deals quick as possible. So I know that other wholesalers want to do the same thing. And so it comes to that, the title transaction coordinator that you hire. I recommend that you guys hire one. If you can't afford to have one in your office full time, there's people out there that do this, uh, or ask other fellow wholesaler companies. Hey, do you recommend somebody? I know a few people that used to work in title that are doing transaction coordinator for different companies, and they're willing to help other wholesalers, and they know the ins and outs of title. Some of the people that I know of, but they're taking this job or this position like a little niche. They're hosting this, or they're helping other wholesalers to be able to be their transaction coordinator without you taking an overhead cost.
Right.
And where do you cover that? Well, many years ago, I was taught to put on my contract a transaction coordination fee. And I negotiate with my transaction coordinator, hey, it's a $350 fee, or $400, $50 fee, or $500, whatever you negotiate, put that on your contracts. And then every time that contract close, she can invoice the title company and get paid for that transaction. And it's not coming out of your pocket. It's an end buyer's cost because it's on the contract.
Right.
And, it's just part of doing business as a buyer. And your transaction coordinator gets paid, and you didn't get an overhead, and
Nice.
you're organized, and you
I
have
don't do that. I need to do that.
yeah. So that's one thing, is either you have somebody in house, or you contract somebody.
Now, whenever you said put it on there, where, like, so that way people know. So if you're a wholesaler, you got it under contract. Are you gonna put it on the contract between the buyer and yourself, or between you and the seller and yourself, or you and the buyer, like when you assign it?
I do it on my first purchase contract with the
Okay.
actual seller. So all the terms and everything is already on there. On
Got
my
it.
assignment contract is basically saying I'm assigning this
What-
contract with all the terms and all the encroachments and all these whatever issues that the property
Right.
has. And of course, we're always trying to clear title and get all those issues out of the way. But as is property, and along there, if you don't have it on your contract, or some people are using trade contracts or all that, you can add it to your special provisions and
Okay.
put it on there. There's going to be a transaction coordination fee of whatever X dollar amount, and and the title company will get that, and they'll either pay it to you if you're paying them directly, or your TC person can invoice the title company for you, send it to you, and then you send it to the title company, and they get paid out of closing, and you don't even have to worry about the taxes on that.
Well, I was just gonna say that whenever you do any kind of invoices, or if people are, you have to pay a fee, let them do an invoice, because then you have to worry about taxes. So like, let them worry about their own taxes, because then you don't want to be hunting people down. Like, hey,
I need a W9.
that's $300 I sent you.
Yeah.
But it's better if they do the invoice.
Yeah, so for newbies, you don't have to take that cost, but you can get it on a per deal cost. And it can be paid out of that deal. And at the end, your buyer's paying for it. And so it's not really affecting your wholesale fee or your assignment fee. And so for newbies and those that are just starting, start getting used to that, start building your system. So there's different ways that you can outsource some of these things without you paying for it up front. We always like, oh, I got to get an LLC, or I got to get a
Right.
transaction, or I got to get an acquisition, or I got to get disposition. But you start building your team as you make your money. But why not start building a team with no cost? And it's all going to be out of the deal. And if the deal falls through, well, it fell through. There's nothing we can do
Right.
about it, and they just move on, right? And that's why you set a good price. You might not want to do a $250 or $300 transaction coordinator. Make it enticing for the transaction coordinator. Sometimes you trying to save money, and it's going to cost you even more. So you might as well pay an average or something good for someone good that's going to give you results. This deal didn't go through. Okay, no problem. I did the work, but you're not charging you.
Right.
You know what? Because I'm paying you a $500 fee. That's part of the losses that you go through to
Right.
make up for that loss in time.
Right.
The TC doesn't really take a lot of time. They're very good. They're going to communicate to the title company, get the questions answered, get the information, and communicate back with you the status of where they're at, and go from there. So, it's keep it simple. So that's one of my tips. Get a transaction coordinator, and if you need somebody,
I was just gonna ask, do you know of anybody, like, say, do you guys offer that, or
we don't offer that. I just know some of the people, and I've been connecting with other people. Some of the people I've met at network events, different network events, or you can ask other wholesale companies or other people that are doing it. Hey, who are you using for transaction coordination? Sometimes they'll have in-house, or they might say, oh, we use a company.
Yeah.
Or we do everything by VAs. Maybe you train a VA,
right?
and take a low cost, $3 an hour, with someone from the
Yeah, but you
Philippines
gotta be
overseas.
careful when those $3 an hour can cost you in the future sometimes.
Exactly. So
Because they can overlook things
Yeah.
as well.
So a couple of the people I know have been in title. So, and I've seen a lot of them, and I know what their work is very ethical. The people that I work with, you know, at the end, is up to you. You'll have to vet them to make sure they're fit for you. Fit your culture. Some things that you learn in your business, that you're trying to find like-minded people that to operate with you. Who have same goals, who have certain goals that you want them in your organization or in your team. And so you have to connect with different people and see who's gonna work for you. Want somebody
Right.
with customer service. You might be able to train somebody to.
Yeah.
It's possible, and you grow as you go. And maybe hire them in house, or negotiate something with them and still get them paid at closing with that. So I recommend that. That's one of the things. And with that, there's a lot of things like affidavits of airships that they can go out there. And I try to recommend getting somebody who has a notary, or help them get their notary. And
Right.
then they can get that, go out there, meet the client, get the paper, and get it notarized for you, for the title company, for your wholesale business. The key here, again, is for wholesalers. You want to close your deal fast, you're going to have to work with a transaction coordinator to help
Right.
you that. The title company, we only do so much. The escrow agents are not going to go out there. The assistants
No,
are
they're
not going to
not.
go out there to try to find the interest parties for your affidavit of airships. Their job is to send an email to the seller. Hey, this is what we need in order for us to clear title, and tell the wholesaler, hey, this is what we need to clear title. But if you want to get paid fast,
Yeah.
this is where your TC comes in.
And most sellers, they're not gonna go out of their way to go find this. They're like, hey, it's really our job to go, and I mean, because whenever I'm doing an affidavit, I'm the one like doing it. I'm meeting the sellers or looking for whoever that we need to find, and sometimes it's even more than a TC. I have to hire PI,
Yeah.
so that way we can find a brother or a sister. But yeah, they're not going to do that for you. You have to do that.
Yeah.
So especially when you're dealing with probates, or a lot of distressed sellers, they always got some kind of mess going on their
Yep.
title.
Yep. And then that's where other title issues arise. Oh, we can't find it relatives, but they want to close. What do you have to do? Those are all issues that come up. A lot of the issues that we come up with, we call it quiet title, where now you have to hire an attorney. And right now, with the after COVID, things, we have one transaction that was locked up between a wholesaler and a rehabber, and they went to court last July. They filed for the probate, started in May, and then July they had the court date, and then they got pushed to August, and then from August to September, and then now they went to court, but the judge did not like the way the things were worded. by the attorney, so the attorney had to reword it,
Oh man.
and I believe they're going to court this July now.
Jeez.
So those are the issues
Hey,
that you run
lawsuits
into.
fair.
So
It's a long
and
time.
it's just to uh, probate the title. Basically, is what it is.
Now, when you say quiet title, that tell them what that means.
Quiet title usually is it works best. It's almost like an adverse possession, but it's not.
Okay.
It could be a property that you inherit, but let's say that they have brothers and sisters and they can't find a brother or something like that, or one of the relatives. Then you hire an attorney, and then they'll do all the proceedings that they have to do to try to find that other person, almost like hiring a PI and all that.
Mhm.
But the key is that you did everything you could. You posted newspapers,
Mhm.
but the attorney is helping you go through all this because they know exactly what is required. Then they present it to the judge for you, and then the judge makes a decision. Okay, you tried everything. Boom, the property is yours. You can sell it, and then you go. Before it was taking
That's
about
actually a really great nugget there because
yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people don't even know that they can do that,
yeah.
And
It's just that it costs money. I'll give you an example. We did have a property like that. I bought a property and we couldn't close it because one brother was mentally incapable and he was living in a hospital, a mental hospital or a rehab hospital for many years. His mother had passed, so they had put him in there and he was an adult. And the other brother was fine and he was selling the property that he inherited from their mother. And I had to take this brother. I drove him all the way to a small town next to Waco, Texas, and set up a court date and everything. And he had to find an attorney to work with him, and he didn't have the money. And I was like, well, I didn't want to take the risk. Am I going to really get my money back? Because attorneys for this type of thing is about $5,000.
oh wow.
But we were able to find an attorney who was willing to get paid at closing.
Oh nice. What's his number?
It was in a different county. It was not here
You gotta
local.
share that number with
Yeah, and
us.
so I'll look for the information. But the attorney was in a different county. It was in that county near Waco, Texas. So we went presented our case to the judge and everything. That the county had to hire an attorney for the other brother to represent the brother,
Oh wow.
and he hired his attorney to represent him in order to take care of this. But we got it all done in a matter of hours. We drove. It probably took longer to drive there to present the case and let the judge decide, get the court documents, get it notarized, get it filed there in the county, get the documents, and drive back. And then we were able to do the transaction. But you can find attorneys that way, and that's kind of another tip I want to give. Look around. Don't just depend on one attorney. Oh, it's going to be 5,000. It's going to be 10,000. Whatever it is.
Right.
Maybe somebody can work with you where they get paid at closing, and that's what he did. He got paid his $5,000 fee, and for that transaction, and we were able to do it. It was a pretty good deal. Um,
That's so what kind of attorney would you look for something like that? Or when you go talk to an attorney, what is it that you would tell the attorney? Hey, I'm looking to get a quiet title.
Yeah, you would say, "Hey, look, this is the present your case, what the situation is," and you can say, "Well, the title company said, this was one of the ways that we can do it was through quiet title," and uh, you know, notification. I'm not an attorney, so I'm just giving you my opinions here, and but talk to the attorneys, tell them your situation, and actually, the attorney will probably give you maybe there's a better option out there,
Mhm.
depending on your situation. So talk to the attorney. It will be a real estate attorney that will do these things for you. And I recommend that, to talk to the attorney and let him decide what the best.
We need to get an
Yeah.
attorney in here so that
Yeah.
way we can like talk about that because there's so many. I know a lot of people, they're able to close these properties. They'll get them like seller finance after a couple of years, 4 years, 5 years. They do the adverse possession, so they're able to get these properties. So there's actually these complicated titles that you're like, oh my god, there's no way I'm going to close on this. There's a way you can still close, but of course it may require time and money. I know like some people are like, I'm not gonna
Deal with that. Yeah.
deal with it, but those are actually the best ones because the spread on those are
Yeah.
you did all of that work. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So on that deal we were able to renegotiate that contract. We had it at The numbers I'm speaking, this is probably about 3 years ago. So, to find a $50,000 property in today's market, it's real tough. But
Hey, only Christina Frankos can find those.
well, and I've been kind of a little lucky too, because I still find them, But this property, we had gotten it for under contract for 52, and we knocked it down to 32. And
Nice.
so, that was a good $20,000 extra spread there. But, I told him, because of the situation, I'm the one who drove him out there. I'm the one who had to deal with him. I'm the one who carried him. I'm the one who all the way to closing. And I said, there's a price for this, my time, so, your time, you need to figure out what your time costs and, and then determine from there. It's just like anything, any other job. When you take a job, you're making a certain dollar amount. This is your salary. Right. That's what you're worth, basically. Right. And as you increase every year, well, that's what you're worth every year. So my time increases as I do this business longer. My cost of value increases too. So you have to take all those things into consideration. So we were able to renegotiate that contract, and we did pretty well. I think we assigned it for 72. Sheesh. And then I was a realtor on the sale. So
nice.
And at the end, it was not a big sale, but we only spent 15,000 rehabbing on it.
Right.
So it was more of a cleanup and a bunch of stuff, appliances, countertops, and paint. Things like that. It was not that old of a house. It was pretty new, or 97, 98, something like that. Mm-hmm. So it was something that we could make happen. But I tell you these numbers because I want you to put a value behind your time and the things that you do. And so that's one of the things is hiring a TC to help you understanding the title commitment, so you can understand that. Another tip I wanted to bring was educate your sellers. One of the big things is two things: educate your sellers and stay in communication with them. Because sometimes you'll get a contract and then you're okay, well, everything's great, and you don't talk to them for a month. Somebody else already talked to them. They've been communicating every day.
Hey, they already closed the deal.
And you're over here in contract. We've been trying to clear this.
No, yeah.
We see a lot of that. And then the other thing is always too is like, who's the seller? And my title company and my office, we always send out a seller information form, and we try to get that right away, and also a copy of their valid driver's license or identification. Mm-hmm. Because if they don't have a valid identification, I've had a couple of closings where a couple of wholesalers come in and the seller has an expired driver's license, has an expired identification. Everything's expired.
They're expired too. No?
Yeah, and they can't sign.
Wow. No, I've been lucky enough that's actually not, I don't want to say
hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, right. But I can see that because we deal with a lot of like sellers that, they're pretty a little bit rougher on the edge. Mm. So I've been really lucky that they've actually had a valid driver's license.
Yeah. So, even matriculas and other countries, it has to be a government issued identification. We didn't say U.S. government. We said a government issued identification. Now, some title companies will frown on certain identifications. So, make sure that you are working with an investor-friendly title company and try to provide the identification so that, especially someone that's from a foreign country, to make sure that it is valid for them to be able to sign. Because some companies that are not that investor-friendly will automatically put into practice that foreign national 15% tax reduction on the proceeds of the seller and hold that back. And, now they're like, hey, I was going to make $30,000. Now I'm only making $5,000 on the sale of my property. What's the deal here? They're going to back out, right? They're thinking they're going to get a certain dollar amount. Imagine now in today's market, a $200,000 assignment or wholesale deal, and they have to be held 15%. How much is that? $30,000.
Wow.
Right.
So where is this at, or whenever?
You can see that in the trade contract under Foreign National. I think it's paragraph like in the 20s towards the back. But you'll see that a lot.
But is that with sellers that are like, out of the country?
So if you have a foreign seller that lives here, that bought a house and now they're selling it, hey, a lot of foreign nationals are coming to the United States to flip houses, believe it or not. Mm. And so they're getting all these special permits and all that. They might The way we work around that is that they have to be able to be reporting taxes, have a
Okay.
social security or an I-10 number. So we show that they do repay, they pay taxes.
Right.
When they get their money, they pay taxes, because if it's an investment property, with any other seller, if it's your homestead, guess what? You don't pay taxes up to 250 per person, right? Per
Hmm.
husband or wife or spouses. And but when it comes to a foreign national, they can't even homestead because they're a foreign national. And
Wow.
so there is no homestead. Guess what? Now they can get taxed 15%. But if they live here and they're paying taxes and all that, that's one of the ways that you can look around that. But you have to check with your title company to make sure specifics, because they're going to go into specifics. So there's different ways about going about it, but we have to look at it to make sure that they
Right.
fit the criteria, because again, they might have a social, but what if the social is no longer valid? you know so different things like that, or an I-10, that when they do their I-10, they have to keep it valid.
Right.
Their I-10s now, they have to, if you have an I-10, you have to be reporting taxes and updating your I-10 all the time too. So those are the things that you run into.
Got two questions from Christina Franco. She said, "What if the contract doesn't close when expected?" That's the first one. And the second one is, "What will you do if the seller doesn't want to extend?"
Well, that's something between a wholesaler and their seller. That's where you negotiate as a title company. uh, if the contract expires, just like any other transaction, as a realtor, we get an amendment to extend it,
Yeah.
right? And if the seller doesn't want to do it, most wholesale contracts that I've seen say, hey, especially an assignment, when you do an assignment, it says that if the seller backs out, or seller defaults, or title isn't clear, that they can cancel and get their money back. So usually on the assignment part, you take care of that, run that by that. The other thing is going to be up to the wholesaler. Hopefully, they build a strong rapport with them where they're
Hmm.
able to negotiate and try to figure out what they have to do to close this transaction. Because at the end, it's the sellers.
Yeah.
What I see a lot is a lot of wholesalers. Well, I'm putting a memorandum on it, right? And
Thanks
so
everybody now these days.
contract expires, you didn't close on the deal. They didn't want to extend, and guess what? They don't want to sell anymore. And you know why they don't want to sell? The majority of the time is because another wholesaler already contacted them and wants to get
Right.
more money for it. That's usually one of the big things.
Hmm.
And other times, and then you might say, okay, well, that's why I'm putting a memorandum on it. Okay, that's fine, but file the memorandum before the contract expires is my recommendation, because you're filing a memorandum after the contract expires. The memorandum is saying that it's an affidavit saying that you have a contract with the seller, that you are buying this property, and you have a contract. Well, guess what? If you file it after the contract date expired, you don't have a contract anymore. And
Right.
if you don't have no amendments, then why are you filing the affidavit of memorandum? That's something that I always, as a title company, we always run into those issues. As
Hmm.
an investor, I question it. These people don't know what they're doing,
Right.
and things like that. And oh, they just want to get a payday. Well, I'm not going to lose this deal, until I get my, I'm at least going to make $5,000 on it. If it's a valid thing, there's ways to do it. And guess what? The seller can get an attorney and get that affidavit of memorandum off of you. All you did was cloud the title. You didn't do a lien against the property.
Right.
So you're going to have to understand what that is.
Yeah.
As a title company in my office, we're not going to close with a memorandum. Some title companies can close on it because they can, guess what, throw it on Schedule B as an exception. The buyer says, well, I'll take it with the memorandum. I'll handle that afterwards. And then they're going to hire an attorney and take the memorandum off. And at the end, you lost.
Yeah. And that's kind of, it goes back to what we were saying, you have to make sure that you're building a strong relationship with these sellers. For me, if I have, title issues and I know it's going to take longer than what I thought, we always, every like twice a week, we always follow up with the seller, even if we don't have anything to tell them. We're just like, hey, just want to make sure we're following up. We're waiting on this, we're waiting on that. But we make sure we kind of keep them in the loop at all time. Talk to them. Hey, it, like once I get a contract, they always like become my friend. I'm like, it's like, hey Paul, it's Andrea. It's not like, hey Mr. Paul. It's now we're like friends.
Yeah.
And just keep that relationship going. Like every week they'll hear from us something, even if it's nothing, but that kind of keeps the relationship with the seller engaged. Because yes, a lot of other wholesalers will call them in between the time that, it could be a week or two. They already had like 10 phone calls from other wholesalers, and I know that they're always like, oh, I'll give you more, or I could have given you this, it just to kind of break that up. But yeah, so it's very important that you do build a good relationship so you don't have those issues. And if it does take a little longer, it's probably because of the affidavit, not because of your part. So you always let the seller know, hey, we're doing everything on our part to get this transaction moving. So we'll let them know, like, hey, we're waiting on this form, but we're also doing you a favor to get this title clear so you can sell your house.
Yeah. So that's important. For me, what you're saying, it really counts a lot. So like my acquisition person, my wholesale company really interacts a lot with my clients or my sellers. And so I let her kind of lead that way, because at the end, my acquisition wants to make sure we close, right? She wants to get paid.
Oh, she's probably calling them every day.
There, we do a lot of texting, so we communicate a lot with texting, stay on top of them. Some of the TCs that I know that I would recommend, you can let them know, hey, I need you to do a follow with them too, and give me an update on it. Even if it's email me, you don't have to call me, but let me know that you spoke to them, and and train your team if you're not the one that's speaking with the seller all the time. Everybody works their systems differently. Everybody works differently. Some people want to. It sounds like you like to be involved a lot with that part, and so because this is your business, you're running it how you want it. And
Right.
so I do a lot of things, so I try to outsource a lot of things, but I try to make sure that they're trained to
Yeah,
handle that
getting it
business.
done.
Yeah, and getting it done.
Yeah.
Because hey, I wanted to close, but if you wanted to close, you need to also stay on top of it. And that's how I educate my acquisitions or my transaction coordinators. So that's one of the things. So educate your sellers.
Yeah.
Your buyers, your majority of the buyers should be experienced. I'm getting a lot of new wholesalers that they'll sign a contract to a rehabber thinking that they have a lot of experience, but sometimes the wholesalers are not well trained or well educated themselves to know what to ask for from their buyer.
Mhm.
And before you know it, the buyer didn't purchase, and they were trying to daisy chain it or
Right.
wholesale it, or they were not really intentionally buying it, but they were trying to contract us. It's whoever, when you contract, who has power now, basically.
Right.
So if
Yeah.
you contract to a rehabber or supposedly a rehabber or end buyer, and they're not really pushing it, I've seen people where the end buyer disappears and never answer the phone calls or get back, and then you're promising the seller we're supposed to close,
Oh,
to close,
yeah.
and the
That's-
buyer never came through. So find out who you're wholesaling to. Educate yourself on how to vet your buyers too.
For sure.
So that's why I said, as yourself as a wholesaler, educate yourself as a seller educate your sellers, and educate yourself as a wholesaler. And then in our office, one of the things that we like to do is email. If you come to my office and you go to my title company, if you walk to any of the title company, you always hear the phone ring. You're always hearing the phone rings and all that. Believe it or not, in my office, I was telling Andrea this morning, we'd be lucky we get 4 phone calls a day. My phone will ring maybe 4 times a day, or someone that just like back and forth calling real quick,
Mhm.
but that's about it. Why? Because we're always emailing, we're always sending. For you as a wholesale investor, realtor, or anything, that's your documentation.
Right.
And for us as a title company, that's my documentation. Hey, we did request this from you. Hey, we sent this to you. Hey, everything
Yeah.
is in writing. And then and I tell a lot of my wholesalers, they call, hey, I called and I want to see if you can get this done for me, or can you do this for me?
Mhm.
Can you do that for me? Or can you take care of this for me? Sure, no problem. And I tell them, I got you, but go ahead and email me and CC me and email the escrow agent. And I'm going to tell her too, or you talk to them. When you talk to them, email them the same conversation you had. Hey, we just spoke about this situation. Please, keep me in mind. Here's my email. Here's the email for the situation that we're talking about. And then now it's in their emails, because the escrow agents are always checking their emails.
Yeah.
They'll go back. Oh, I know I had something to do, and then they'll go back to the email.
Mhm.
Because there's been times, and I've seen it, where someone would call, especially a wholesaler or an investor or anybody, talk to the escrow agent or the assistant. Hey, we need this. I said, okay, no problem. I'll take care of it. Let me finish what I'm working on right now. They put down your issue. They're trying to
Yeah.
finish that. All of a sudden, they got another call or another email, or hey, can you take care of that? Or there's a closing going on, and we got to fix something. They even stop what they're doing, have put your thing, your item
Yeah.
on the side, and then before you know it, they come back. Okay, where was I? Oh, I had this, and boom, boom, boom. They by the end of the day, oh my God, I didn't get to take care of that issue for that wholesaler, and it could be something urgent.
That's a great tip because
So email,
yeah.
and
Yeah,
you have
because I always
documentation.
call. I'm a caller, right? I'm like, hey, but that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Follow it with an email so that you have your writing. Hey, I spoke to you at, 10 o'clock this morning, and I needed this by 1 o'clock, and, you didn't get it to me. It's already 1:30, and I've been calling, 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 calling. And then you're out to lunch. What happened? All kinds of stuff come up. But if you emailed, hey, oh my God, 11 o'clock, they need it by 1, boom, 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 take care of it, send it to you, or whatever the issue is, and then take care of it. So that's one of the tips that I have. If you can, it's like text. Oh, I got his text. I got her text. Same thing. Emails. That really, really helps out a lot.
Good. Yeah. I mean, you gave out some really, really great, even nuggets that I didn't even know. I was like, oh, wow, I didn't,
Yeah.
know that you can do that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, this, like I said, is just experience as you go along in your business and your journey, and that's been part of my journey. And then now that I'm entitled, it really, really helps me with my own business to or businesses to with my real estate side of the businesses to be able to stay in control and know what's going on, and it helps me also train my teams, just like
right.
I'm giving advice this morning or my opinion on how to do things to help you out.
Now, do you have your whole team, like your title and then your, wholesaling company together, or do you have it,
No, it's just per Texas Department of Insurance, my company, my wholesale company. It's next door to my title company, but it's separate.
I see.
So I run my office from next door, and I'm able to manage both offices that way. And of course, I'm a realtor, so I'm office out of there as a realtor. So
he's an insurance guy
yeah,
too.
no,
So
I don't do insurance
he's all
anymore.
one-stop
Yeah.
shop.
I used to do that when I
Nice.
was retail, but now as I became an investor, you learn that you can make more money investing than and faster money, and faster money. So, but I manage everything from there, from one office, from
Nice.
back there.
Okay. Yeah. So now any other tips that, for somebody who's like kind of, getting started, maybe that they can come reach out to you, be like, hey, say someone, did the title, pull the title, doesn't know how to read, the title commitment. Can they reach out to you?
Yes. So the way I set up my title company is I'm the person, I basically the marketing person. I'm the one that you reach out to. You have questions. If I don't have the answer, I'll get the answer, or we'll get my escrow agent involved, or get a real estate attorney if we have to go that route to start answering our questions and stuff. Uh, but you can reach out to me. Like I said, the idea was that behind the title company that I open now, I set up my businesses, and now that I help other people do the same thing. If you're a wholesaler, I see what you need to do to get your deal closed because I'm in the same business as you are. So if you have a question, you can reach out to me. Hey, we're stuck here, this or that. Especially if you have title open at our office, it's easier for me to get to you and be able to look at the file and help you, guide you to what is going on there. If you had a different title company, some other title companies do things certain ways. So it's almost the same thing, but the idea is for me to help you. It's easy for me if you have title open in my office, so that I can help you be able to look at it and guide you. And you can always reach out to me to help you learn how to read them. Most title commitments, they all look the same. If you had another title company already and you're having issues and there's something you think I can look at, I can definitely look at it and help you out. And, in future, it'll come back, that's, the more people I help, the more successful you're going to be, the more successful I'm going to be. So as a wholesaler, I don't know what to look for. As a realtor, I have a lot of friends out there that are realtors that are trying to be investors too, or jumping into the investment side. It's two different animals, trust me. Two totally different mindsets. Everything is completely different. What you learn in school has nothing to do. It's just like when you became a realtor, you go to real estate school and you get is to educate you on what the laws are to protect the consumer. They're not telling you how to sell. They're not telling you
Wow.
the issues you're gonna have. They're not telling you about the title issues. They're not telling none of that
Mhm.
stuff. Same thing as wholesalers, investors, and all that is the same thing. But because I have some understanding, I'm here to help you too as a realtor. Those that are rehabbing, same thing. I bought a property. Now you have a lien against the property. What can we do? So
Yeah.
now you might end up having to hire an attorney to help resolve the issue. If you already own the property, why are you filing a lien on me? I
Right.
have nothing to do with you. Remove it. You might just get a demand letter from an attorney, couple $100. Hey, remove this because I own the property now. This person doesn't own it. And then that's it. And if they can't remove it, then you take the next steps. And that's where your attorney will advise you what steps to take. So, we can help you along the way and kind of give you that opinion and advice of who to look out for and outsource it
Nice. So if people want to find you, where can they find you?
to.
Do you mind sharing your phone
Yeah,
number?
I'm at Patriot Title Energy Corridor. We're on I-10 and the Energy Corridor area. We're off of between Derry Ashford and Kirkwood. We're right there next to Mag High Chevrolet, next to the Texas Bank, the black building, then the next building there. I'm at 11767 Katy Freeway, Suite 120. First floor, as soon as you walk in, I'm on the left side, Patriot Title Energy Corridor. And Houston, Texas 77079. And then the office number is 832-850-6166. And my direct phone number, cell number is 832-643-7970. And you guys can reach me out. And my email at the title company is pmiranda at patriottitletx.com, patriottitletx.com, TX. And that's where you can reach me, and or the title office. Come on over if you have any questions. I'm gonna plan to set up maybe a title 101 for
You
investors,
should.
something to that effect. We have a conference room there, and then I have a larger conference room upstairs that, if more people come,
Hmm.
we can accommodate up to about 50, 60 people.
Nice.
So, investors, newbies, uh, I think anybody that's in real estate, you
Yeah.
build your team. So it's not just about an acquisition disposition on your wholesale company, your transaction coordinator, but also a title company.
Yeah.
Just like some wholesale companies also have realtors. You know, I had a wholesaler. I was at an network event, and the wholesaler said, "Oh man, we've been getting a lot of people that have retail. They want retail.
Right.
They want retail." I go, "So what are you doing with those leads?" They go, "Well, they're not leads. I'm not doing nothing with them. I'm just move on." I said, "Well, give them to me."
Yeah.
But the point is, you can refer to a realtor and build something with the realtor where they can help you get comps, because if you don't have access to MLS, they can build your comps for you. They can give you information that you need that as a realtor they can provide for you, and at the same time you're feeding them leads where they can probably get a listing for you or from you and build their business that way, but they become your partner. So
Right.
there's another way you can build with realtors, with a title company. Title company is investment friendly for you, and someone like me, for example, that I'm always accessible when it comes to title for your business, because
Hmm.
I want to make sure that you close. My goal is for you to close and make money. So if that works for you, then I could be the person for you. Insurance agents. There's a lot of gooseneck people out there. I go to Not and everywhere. Oh, I'm a
Yeah.
gooseneck. I'm a gooseneck. Shout out to gooseneck, right?
Yeah. They
But
are everywhere.
they're everywhere, and so a lot of people out there
Networking.
networking, and you
Hmm.
can build your teams.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because
you,
I have a realtor that I refer like those leads,
yeah,
and my split is, they do 35 and 65.
yeah,
So that way you get a little
yeah,
something, but
yeah,
y'all help each other out.
yeah.
So those leads are not just sitting there.
Exactly. So I mean, think about it. Even if you make a $500, $50, I mean, whatever fee or whatever you split or agreement you
Hey,
do with the
$50.
realtor,
I better be more than
yeah,
$50. No, I'm kidding.
yeah. But you built that stuff, that relationship with your realtors. They're gonna give you information that you need, like MLS.
Yeah.
Not access, but at least get you the comps that you need. Teach them how you need to find the comps.
Hmm.
Because they can run comps, but they do comps different way.
Right.
This guy was trying to sell me a property in 77016 and telling me that it was a duplex worth
Oh
$500,000.
wow.
You
And
know,
oh, one
I mean, he
six.
did it, and what is that, RPR, uh, comps on it, and he pulled comps from here, comps from there, from all over the city, and it was like, dude, you can't do that. It's
Wow.
a 1 to 4 residential, it's not commercial where you can go a little bit outside. So he was trying to sell me a property like that, and I was like, that's not a deal.
Right.
This is how we look at it as an investor. So you want to get the right realtor too.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're buying a property and you don't, someone's like, hey, here are my comps, and you go off their comps, and then your numbers are wrong. So it's always very important to learn how to run comps
Yeah.
on properties.
Yeah, that top number, that's your first number. If you don't have that number right, it'll jeopardize the whole
For
deal.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, if people want to find you like on Instagram, do you have an Instagram?
Yes, I'm on Patriot Title Energy Corridor, and also Facebook Patriot Title Energy Corridor.
Nice.
That's where our office is located, and I'm also on there, Paul Miranda, both on Instagram and Facebook, so you can find me that way. So both the title company or me as an individual, you can find me on those both social medias.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, I mean, you share some great nuggets here,
Thank
and I
you.
do appreciate you coming out here and sharing this value with us, because I know a lot of people. Some of the stuff that you said, I didn't even know that you're able to do. So thank you for those great tips. Now, anything else you want to share before we end this?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot more information on there, but basically get educated. Just like
Yeah.
you educate yourself in wholesale, educate yourself as a realtor, educate yourself in all different types of investment strategies, educate yourself in some of the title work, and you'll save yourself a little bit of some of the headaches that you run into.
Headaches and money.
And time.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. And that's going to be a wrap for today. And we'll see